Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of the show. This is Tony's show, and today is March 7, 2020. I don't want to rush anything. Doomsday is coming in fast enough. We don't need to rush it. Well, maybe we should. Depends on how you look at it. Anyway, I started to get the show going yesterday, and then about midstream I decided to change the show. That's why I'm a little late putting it out. And I just got a whole slew of stuff, and I started revamping the Carbon C60 because I've been hearing about Carbon C60 and so many goofy gurus using Carbon C60, and them propagating this bullshit. It's just unbelievable. So I decided to looking at Terahertz because I don't believe that they're using 5G. I'm more convinced that they're using terahertz frequencies to activate the corona program. I don't even believe it's a virus either. And I'll explain that in a minute too. And I'm going to show how there's a connection between corona and carbon C60 or multi-web carbon nanotubes. It's interesting how all this is coordinated over a period of time, and how all these supplement companies and all these industries are now coming into play, and how they're all coordinating to again inundate and integrate with everybody things that can be accentuating a frequency in some form or fashion. See, the reason why I don't say it's 5G is because if everybody recalls, because everyone gets caught up in so much of the rhetoric and bullshit that's going on, that they forget some of the more basic fundamental things. 5G technology doesn't penetrate. Okay, initially when they were talking about penetration of 5G, they had to build all these extra antenna because it didn't penetrate, it just didn't go through structures. But terahertz frequencies, on the other hand, do. They actually act like X-rays without the ionizing radiation, so they can penetrate and permeate through almost anything. When you go through an airport, you're walking through the scanners, you're being hit with terahertz frequencies. When you go into certain stores that may have facial recognition program, they too may have terahertz frequencies hitting you. 5G has its place in the streets where street lights can monitor people because there's no obstructions. They simply just can fire the beam. If you're out there, you get hit. But a terahertz frequency can hit you while you're driving in your car. They can see what you've got. They can pinpoint whatever. And the beauty behind terahertz frequencies, it's the perfect ultimate weapon. You can get hit with a terahertz frequency, you won't even know you're dead. And if they do a biopsy, unless they know exactly what they're looking for, you will have died of organ failure, or you will have died of an aneurysm, or you'll have died of some kind of what the doctors in the medical field would perceive as even an aging process. Oh, the heart gave up. He had heart failure. Oh, he had an asthma attack. Oh, he had some intestinal issue going on. Oh, they saw cancer inside the system. This could all be brought on by terahertz frequency. But the interesting thing about terahertz frequencies is the way they can sometimes be augmented or amplified by using a conductor, a superconductor, whether it be hydrogen. Notice that they're selling more hydrogen in the health food store these days. And carbon and hydrogen, superconductors. Wow. Carbon C60. Is this coincidental? Who knows? I'm not one that believes in coincidences. I think everything's well orchestrated and planned. Plans don't always go according to the intent, or they don't always work at the proper time that they may need them to work. But nonetheless, plans do get enacted and things do get initiated. So I don't believe seriously that 5G is the culprit here. Now, when China is already using 6G technology, which is using on the terahertz bandwidth, and I was talking to another awakened person yesterday who's also active, an activist. We're talking about the terahertz frequencies, and I said to him, the terahertz frequency band is not necessarily infrared. On the lower bandwidth, it's not infrared. On the higher bandwidth, it gets into the infrared, and that's where it becomes problematic, because when it penetrates, infrared will penetrate the system. and can carry a microwave with it. Wow. And terahertz can fulfill both. And terahertz frequencies can be photonic. In other words, they can emit light beam-like material. And microwave. Laser and microwave. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, I found something interesting. And I want to read this to you. Excuse me. It will be on the script. It will be in the notes. But I found something about interaction with carbon nanotubes with the corona protein. Let me read this to you. This is going to make you go, we found that protein corona greatly affects the interaction of carbon C60, or it's carbon nanotube. Okay, carbon nanotubes with PLT. Bare carbon nanotubes induce PLT aggregation and release of platelet membrane microparticles, PMP, HSA, and FBG. Corona's attenuated PLT aggregating the activity of carbon nanotubes. In contrast, IgG corona cause, which is a protein, PLT fragmentation, and H1 corona induce strong PLT aggregation and release of PMP. In other words, plain old English, when they had the carbon nanotubes with the protein got activated and it collected. Okay, and as it collected, it created a fragmentation within the protein, which then allowed the particles to spread. Introducing nano with biology. Now, terahertz frequencies would activate this activity. See, I don't believe it was a coronavirus that we're seeing, and I still don't buy into the whole coronavirus bullshit. Nor do I believe that they're curing it with vitamin C either. I do believe they are curing pneumonia with vitamin C, but that is not the corona protein, and it's not the nano that is integrated with this integration of protein and carbon nanotubes. When they're talking carbon nanotubes, they're also referring to that as carbon C60. Now, when we're looking at something else that's interesting about terahertz and microwave emissions, microwave emits solid lines. Terahertz emit dash lines. In other words, it's like being hit with multiple lines at one time. This too would cause damage on the inside, and this too could again create a transmission that's required to activate carbon C60 integration with proteins. Now, the interesting thing about carbon C60, when you do the research on it, and you do the actual research on it, not the horse hockey that they're trying to propagate, that you're going to live 90 million years, and it's one of the best antioxidants on the planet, it's going to fix this, it's going to fix that, yet the guy propagating the carbon C60 is dying of cancer. Perhaps, maybe it gave it to him. See, it's amazing sometimes the bullshit that we hear in health, and what we see in health, and what we see going on, and then when you actually look at the products that they're discussing, and you're seeing that there's a lot of controversy in the topic of discussion, and when you only have one thing, one aspect or one element of a product being propagated, and yet everything else is being disregarded in regarding to the safety of the product that's being propagated or advertised, you got to kind of wonder what the hell's going on. How is it we're looking at one thing in the product, and yet it's got 99 problems with the product? You know, it can cause all kinds of damage. Now, the interesting thing about carbon C60 as well is it can create it can extend its crystalline material. In other words, it produces a network. It produces a circuit. It produces a a crystal formation, and then when it produces this crystal formation, it creates a what is it, like a mesh or a net. Wow, this thing can create in itself a huge antenna or antenna-like construct that can actually increase the activity of frequency hitting it and conducting it. Imagine that. Imagine that. And the more you dig into this, the more you see this and understand it, not from a perspective of marketing, not from a perspective of bullshit, not from a perspective of, getting entertained, but you actually look at this stuff, it's enough to make you scratch your head and wonder, how in the heck are they even able to get away with this? Who is allowing this to carry on? Okay, where is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration? Where is the Health Protection Branch in Canada? Where is the Ministry of Health in Canada? Where is the Ministry of Health in the United States? And not the Ministry of Health, Department of Health. Where is the environmental protection agencies here? This thing is a complete hoax on all kinds of levels. And yet they propagate it. And some gurus are selling it on their sites too. This needs to be really reevaluated by a lot of you. And if you're seeing somebody selling this crap, forward the information to them. And if they're still selling this crap, then maybe perhaps the person that's in question selling the product, maybe that doesn't really care, and is just there to make money. Don't be a dope and support that. That's what I would say. Don't be a dope and support that. Look, there are the interesting thing about the activism game, if you will, is there are some real legitimate activists that are propagating information. And there are real activists out there that are trying very hard to come up with solutions, because the medical field is not coming up with any solutions. Forget it. They're not going to. Don't think for 1 minute they give a shit about you. They don't care. Don't think for 1 minute when you go to see a doctor, some of you are having high volumes of respiratory issues going on. You've been hit with respiratory problems, and you're having dry hacking coughs. Your eyes are being irritated. Your throat is being raw. Did you all ever think that perhaps this is not a cold? Did you all ever think that perhaps you were being targeted with frequencies? Did you all ever think that what's coming out of the atmosphere that you're breathing in is loading you up to be activated by a frequency? Did you ever think of that? Did you ever even consider this possibility? See, there had been dropping chemtrails from the sky since 1947, and they've increased the volume over several years and decades. And we really don't know fully anymore what they're dumping anymore. We do know some of the basic fundamental things they're dumping. And I would not be a bit surprised if they're dumping carbon C60. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. I wouldn't be surprised either that they're dumping some kind of oil-based something. I don't know what it is. I know the other night I walked out, I was going home, and I went to put my windshield on because it looked like it was snowing, or appeared to be snow. Anyway, when I was wiping my wipers, the windshield was clean. I had this oil film on my windshield. It took a couple minutes for the windshield wipers to wipe it off. It's like, what the heck is this? And your vehicles, when you come out in the morning, if there's still any refrigerant out there, see, how many of you living in the areas where there still might have the tail end of the winter? You ever notice you go outside and you see whatever snow is coming down and it seems to solidify very quickly, forms a very hard crystalline-like material, and then the air is emitting a very cold air, like you walked into a cooler that's -30. Got this burning that you're breathing. It's like a drying out effect. That's what you're breathing in. If these particulates have some kind of oil base to them, they can cling to your insides, causing high levels of respiratory stress, causing high level of heart stress, a high level of liver and kidney stress, spleen. I mean, this is not a far-fetched thing. The more you understand the nature of being fumigated, doesn't that make you feel like a warm, fuzzy little bug walking on the planet? From the old Raid commercials, the guys, the insects were into the cartoons where the insects were having a party, and they go, "Yay, party!" And all of a sudden they see Raid and go, "Raid!" and they get wiped out. Well, this is basically what's happening. We're all having a party on the planet. We're all being distracted with whatever nonsense distractions there are, and now they're spraying their Raid on the planet. Interesting name for a product, Raid. So now we're getting raided with sprays that eventually fall to the earth and now can be turned on or activated. See, a lot of people ask the question about nano and how some people are showing signs of lesions and filaments and silica carbon based growth on their bodies, and others aren't. The answer is really simple. Some are activated and some aren't, and some are activated so that it's internal, and some are activated so that it shows on the outside, and also your immune system plays a role in how this thing develops. So if the activation isn't on, in your case perhaps you haven't seen any signs of it, but you're feeling a lot of internal signs going on, wearing and tearing, breaking down, joints are sore, muscles are sore, you can barely walk, you're 20 years old, you need one of those little scooters to get around because you can barely move your legs. That's activation of nano. It's disengaging you, it's taking over your lower extremities, and it's very hard to bend your legs, very hard to walk, very hard to climb steps, very hard to move, very, 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 very hard to be mobile. That's nano. Lower ends are saturated with it. It's assembling and it's networking and building networks in the system. Again, taking over your mobility. That's nano. So this is one of the reasons why the bucket's important to use on a daily basis, so that you can disengage that buildup in the lower extremities, so you can get your motility back, so you can move around again. Doing a nano bucket on its own can help maybe protect you from some of these viruses that they're going to activate, because if you remove the program or disengage the program and remove the particulates that are required to assemble in the body, there'll be less chance of you getting activated in that form or fashion. Doesn't mean you won't get activated, it just means you won't get activated in that way. We are living in precarious times at best. The weaponry that they're using today is strictly off frequency. It's easier to create a frequency and hit a neighborhood or hit a block or hit a city, a town, a suburb, a township, than to build a bomb and to nuke one. Because once you get into that realm, now you have to fix the damage. After you devastate an area, you got to wait for a period of time for the radiation to subside so you can go in there and clean up the place. And that costs money to clean and rebuild. But a frequency, they can go through a wall, can go through a ceiling, can go through a roof, and can target its intended targets. Now that's interesting. So you can wipe out everybody. It says it doesn't take much to get a gurney, put the body on it, and send it over to a place where they can dissect it and harvest the organs. Doesn't take much. Here we are in the late I guess it is late. Late 2020. Late 20, sounds like it's early, but think about it. 2020. I've been saying by 2025, everything that is going to be in place will be in place. 2025. That's what my perspective is based on what I'm seeing. And most people don't look past their noses, and some people that do research, and I've seen a couple, all they do is just follow the script that's being put in front of them. They don't think, they don't assess correctly, they don't do anything, they just read. And it looks like, and it sounds like they're important and they're knowledgeable, but all they're done is just collected data that's been presented a certain way, and they're just repeating the same thing. So again, pay attention. Pay attention. I give you these links so you can look these things up yourself, so that you can determine whether or not you want to believe it or not, or you want to see it. I had an email. It's an interesting email, actually. The guy wrote me an email, and he wanted to thank me. He started looking at the nano. He started looking at a lot of different things, and he had a hard time with the kill switch when I talked about the kill switch. And then he decided to go check it out and found out that what I was saying on that was accurate as well. In fact, he said he couldn't believe his eyes when he was reading it. And anyway, as a result, he's become more and more aware of the precariousness of our lives today. So like I said, it's important, very important, that we understand, in essence, what we're dealing with and the nature of how we can deal with it. See, this is the interesting thing people don't get either. When you take your remote control on your television or your stereo system and you hit the on button, can you actually see the frequency going from the remote control to the television or to the stereo? Can't see it. Yet you see the results. You hit the button, television kicks on, volume kicks on, the channel comes on. You change the channel, you hit another button or a combination of buttons. Same thing with the volume, same thing with the contrast and the clarity of the visual. So when we're looking at all that, you cannot see the activity of the phone in regard to what's happening. But you do see the end result, which is the same thing with this microwave assault that we're dealing with. It's the same exact thing. We are no longer, like I said, just, bumps on the stump. We're getting taken out, and we're getting taken out with things that we can't see. And yet, what we've been told as far as disease goes, and as far as what the medical field is telling us, all they do is treat a symptom. They never look at the cause, and if they do see some kind of activity, they can tie something to the activity to what's going on in your body. But a lot of them don't have a clue that the microwaving is having the full impact on what's going on with people today, And so as a result, they're treating them with some sort of conventional medicine that isn't going to work. I mean, you gotta sit there and think. Sit there and really think. Do you really need to go to a doctor? Because they haven't cured anything in over, 80, 90, 100 years? They haven't cured anything. Now we're talking about, again, we're going back into the vaccine battle again. This is a perpetual weighing down. And the reason why they want the vaccines is so they can inject a carbon nanotube crystalline material inside of you, hiding or hidden in the mix of whatever they're going to shoot. So now the carbon C60 can get into your brain, growing crystal-like materials into the brain, acting as a network into the brain. So now you're more susceptible to receive a program operating system running through your head. Kind of a few details they forget to tell you about this. See, they'll propagate whatever. And being that I have some history about supplements and about, new products coming into the market and what sells and what doesn't sell, blah blah blah, and the pitch, and what to look for in these products so that you don't get snookered by the rhetoric and the sales that they push. Oh, this stuff is really good, man. I've used it, man. I'm a mean, lean, exercising machine. Oh, I can now work out 10 hours a day. I got muscle in my muscle. Oh, I just taken this pill. You should try it. And you do. You buy the product, you buy 3 or 4 of the products, and realize it doesn't work. So now you're out about $100. And meanwhile, the guy that sold you the stuff is laughing all the way to the bank. Oh, baby, look at me, I'm muscled. I just drank that product and exercised. And look what happened. This is how they play the game. Carbon C60, like I said, grows a crystalline-like formation in wherever they put it. When you look at the photos on the site, you're going to look at it and you're going to freak. You're just going to freak. And when you look at everything I'm talking about tonight, connect the dots. Connect the dots. We talked about carbon C60. We talked about terahertz frequencies. We talked about, carbon-based terahertz frequency devices. We talked about, just on the aspect of carbon alone. Now, synthetic biologists are redesigning the way bacteria communicate with each other. Do you know what that means? That means if the bacterium overcome the programming that these scientists put in, they're going to be far more sophisticated in their assaulting on us. Every time we turn around, there's somebody somewhere trying to create an assault on us through a vaccine program where they can inject chips or programs inside of a person's body so they can be accentuated or turned on or activated, and now away they go. And sometimes they may not even know they're on the go because their minds are completely blanked out, and as a result, the program is running the show. Welcome to the program. And that's a lot like TV. When you watch TV, basically it's a program running into you, and you're allowing that program to be accessed by your brain. I'll tell you young people to not get caught up in watching television, because the more you watch it, the more you're going to have to deal with it up the road. You won't be able to see what you need to see, or you won't be able to do what you need to do. So I would probably encourage all of you not to listen to the music anymore, because it's a frequency anyway. And now we really don't know what bandwidth these frequencies are coming in on anymore. And they could be on all kinds of different bands. And again, ultrasonics, we found out that if you have it under ultrasonic, your cell phone can be hacked. Imagine that. You're driving down the street and all of a sudden your phone is being hacked and you don't even know it. Like I said, it's important that you understand the nature and the intensity of the assault that's going on today. We're nothing but an experiment. That's all we are. That's all we are, is an experiment. And when you look at us as an experiment, and you see what they've done with us throughout time, so we're at the state where we are today, on the verge of a total collapse or a system collapse, because again, now we have released a not us, let me rephrase that because Brian will give me shit if I say us. The people in charge will have released another pathology, or a mock pathology, or a mimetic pathology. A mimetic. You learn that term, mimetic. And they will release this on the planet to create a mayhem effect on the planet. An effect to cause widespread panic. I don't know what it is with people. I really don't know what it is with people. I could not get excited when I heard about the coronavirus. My first thought was, what kind of bullshit is this now? Well, that's the first thing that came across my mind. What kind of bullshit is this now? And then I thought, okay, let's really take a hard look at this. So, there was so many things were coming out, but first, initially, it came from snakes. Snakes somehow passed it over, and then Then people were eating bats in the market, and then they said bats were doing it, and then they were saying something else was doing it, and whatever. And now we have this virus that is spreading across the planet. It's supposed to be hitting 6 a day in a different country. We've got 7 billion people. It's not even an epidemic. It's not even a virus. What it is, it's an infection created through synthetic biology. That's what it is. Activated by terahertz frequencies. That's where this is all coming from. So when we're looking at, like I said, the other thing too is we cannot compare our technology or our seemingly technological advances that we have here and suspect that they are less than up to par where we are. This is complete foolishness. Other countries are developing their technologies as well, and like countries like Estonia and other Baltic countries, a lot of them have already got a cashless system going on. You don't need any cash. Everything is done for you. You walk here, you walk there. You got facial recognition programs all over you. This is already being done in places like Estonia, not just China. So when you're looking at this development that's going on, you're not going to stop it. I'll tell you that straight out. 5G, he says, has already been accomplished. 6G is what you need to really start fighting for. Now we're talking straight DNA strand, complete breakage there. We need to understand the nature of these assaults so we don't get caught up over and over and over and over, being traumatized and made to feel afraid. So eventually you cave in and you get the vaccine, or you get the shot, or you get the drug, whatever it may be. This is the game. This is the game. If I can get you as a person to surrender to me, so that I can inject you, I am now basically, even though I'm perpetrating something bad, I'm off the hook, because you now have decided to make that decision to get it done. No matter how crafty I may be, okay, the end result is you have to make the choice. And some of you are going to freak out and get your kids on things. Oh, my kids need this, my kids need that. Oh, they won't be able to go to school if they don't get vaccinated. You know what? That is not the end of the world. I got news for you. I went through the high school system, the public high school system, and guess what? It was the biggest waste of time. If I had had the money at 13, I would have went to university straight from there. But didn't have the money. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. So, in all that we're showing, and all I'm showing here tonight in regarding to the coronavirus, like I said, I don't believe it's a virus. And again, it may be a protein that they're using. See, people don't understand. When they genetically engineer a plant, I've said this before in other shows, they splice the seed, or they hit the seed with a high electrical charge to create an opening where they can insert into the seed a golden nanoparticle or golden nanotube constructs. So when it's inside, it then begins to do whatever it's supposed to be doing. And then the assaults begin. You start breaking down. You start having issues. Like I said, we're not in that world anymore where just, basically you need guns and bullets. They're giving you the guns. They're giving you the bullets. They're hoping that if they turn an event on with these devices, that people would shoot themselves. All they'll didn't do is grab some wagons, meat wagons, put these bodies in the meat wagon, extract their DNA and their organs, and away we go. If the organs are still intact. We need to understand, like I said, the nature of where we're at today. Not 1920, not 1820, 2020. And we have to understand the nature of where we're at in 2020. And we have to understand the nature of the assaults that are coming down on us in 2020. These are not science fiction things any longer. They have gone way past science fiction, way past. And we're now living in the reality of a comic book where we got all this tech being put up, and artificial intelligence is running the planet, and now we're having problems with just the networks and the systems. Imagine a planet completely run by artificial intelligence. Nothing can move, nothing can go to and fro without artificial intelligence giving it the okay to do so. Think about that. A device, it has a network, a neural network that can hit every corner of the planet, be in every village, town, or city, every state or province, can be everywhere at one time, and be in one place at the same time, can then analyze things through 50 million computations per second from different angles. You know, you got a machine running the whole show. What happens if that machine shuts down? What happens if that machine is disengaged? What happens to the people on the planet when all they know is how to use a device? They don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to work together. They don't know how to do anything together. They don't know how to do anything. All they know how to do is push a button on a phone. Now imagine that. I mean, that mankind has come to a point where the highlight of your life is hitting a button on a phone. Something's dramatically wrong with that picture, don't you think? Now imagine that same phone, okay, can target you and take you out because it's biometrically connected to you. Imagine the AI sending a signal throughout the planet to find you where you are because it's got your DNA, it's got your cell phone, and it decides that it's time for you to leave. Turns on the frequency, traces your phone, and gets you hit with it. This is reality today. We got a carbon C60 molecule that doesn't come out of the system and actually gets inserted into the brain because they're using a liposome to carry it. And it goes into the brain and forms crystalline structures to, again, engage itself in the network, the neural network of the body. Just like silica gets involved with the skeletal system of the body. And they are all activated by frequencies. That's going to be the hardest thing for people to get their head around, that you got something that can be wherever it's at and can be activated by a frequency and can cause the problems that I'm mentioning. It's going to be hard for some people to believe that a cell phone can kill you. It's going to be hard for people to believe that the that the terahertz frequencies can penetrate just about anything and can cause severe damage depending on how it's focused. Imagine that. Where have we heard that before? So when we're looking at some of the things that we're being told, perhaps, by the guru industry, I think that's what I'm going to call it from now on. The guru industry. Because we got all these gurus and all these self-proclaimed people coming out who've never read anything or studied anything and are making some profound claims on products that they've been told is supposed to be the super duperest, pooperest, drooperest product on the planet. And they know themselves, they've used these things and found out that they don't do much, but they sign a contract to propagate, perpetrate whatever they're selling. So here we are today in this dilemma. Because we got people just following the leader, not thinking, not reading, not examining. Because the medical people give you something doesn't mean it's safe or good. Doesn't even mean it's going to work. It's no different in the health industry. There's nobody can tell you that something is going to work for you one way or another. Again, that's what it is. It's an illusion. Prefabrication. So we're looking today at, sophistication using a crystalline technology activated by terahertz frequencies that can form neural networks or circuitry in the system. Now, in other research, they can take magnetic frequencies and manipulate particles to do certain things, to grow, change, or evolve. Imagine that. Imagine that. The more you look at this stuff, the more you're going to begin to think that you're no longer living in the 20th century. And you're not with Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers in the 23rd century. You're not there either. You're not in the Star Trek zone where, space, the final frontier. We're nowhere near that. But where we're at right now is with a technology that is extremely, extremely problematic, extremely dangerous, extremely toxic. And the interesting thing about it too, when you're looking at some of this, the extraction process to get the carbon C60, when the guys were complaining that the zebrafish that had the studies were done had toluene in it, it's because the carbon C60 is what they stripped it with, is toluene. And the thing about carbon C60, can actually activate or hyperactivate a host to be susceptible to be assaulted, to be targeted. So again, this sounds far-fetched, but more and more of you are waking up on this. More and more you're sending me emails of what you're finding, and you're, again, along the same thread that we've been talking about. So like I said, things need to be explored. If you can't substantiate it, if you can't validate it, then terminate it. Until you can validate and substantiate whatever it is you're doing, and you have no clue about the other two, and you're taking some kind of medicaments and you don't know what to expect, you might want to back off. Oh geez, I just got hit with something here. That's been going on lately too. I've been getting popped here. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, in front of my building, I'm going off course here because I got popped anyway, and I just lost my frame of thought. In front of my building got hit with something because there was a clean cut off the structure, and it fell off. Clean cut. So I don't know if I got hit with a Terahertz. I don't know what happened there, but it let go, and all the rock around it, or all the stucco or whatever around it, has been hit too, because it's almost like there was an incision, a straight cut around the rest of the material for it to come down. Amazing, gotta tell you, it's utterly amazing. I didn't get hit or hurt. I mean, but I do get moments when I'm on my computer and I kind of drift off. I never did that before, and that could be because of fatigue, or it could be because I'm getting hit with a frequency. So these are things that, again, we learn as we go, and as we take the stuff out, the more we take the stuff out, the less access they have to you. Okay, minimize anything that has a high glycemic index. Okay, minimize it. The importance of breaking down carbon in the body, one of the ways you can do it is using an ingredient called amylase, AMYLASE. It's a digestive enzyme that breaks down fiber or carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Carbo is carbon. It'll break down some of these carbons. So it may make a difference for some of you. Back to where you guys were having problems with your respiratory. Formulas that you might want to consider using is the biofilm buster, the garlic and MSM formula that we showed you on the YouTube channel, the iodine that we showed you how to make as well, the copper chloride, the zinc chloride are probably the big ones you want to use, and ascorbic acid. These are things you want to take incrementally, in other words, in small amounts, but every couple hours. Now, some of you have already been infected pretty heavily and have had problems going on for a while. Again, use these products, use these things I mentioned. They may make a difference for you to help you come back on your feet. Okay, we are no longer, like I said, living in Kansas. We are being assaulted, so it might be a good idea to start boning up on things that can knock out viruses, fungi, bacterial, mold, algae, whatever. Doesn't mean it's going to do it, but at least if you have an idea what you're taking, you can start fortifying your body. Now, another thing I want to mention too, you're hearing a lot of bullshit about garlic. Garlic, holy jumping, I can't believe over garlic, the nonsense is being perpetrated. One of the things I'll tell you about garlic is it's an antibiotic. It's not an antibiotic. Number one, that's a myth. Antibiotics are what doctors give you to, again, deal with infections. Usually come in pill size, and they're small or big, and these are antibiotics. These are what doctors give. Garlic is not an antibiotic. Garlic has antibiotic properties, and that's not the same. And garlic does not have only these properties. It has 3 types of cysteine in there to help super boost the glutathione and support it dramatically. It's also got the capacity to, again, engage certain minerals and make them more readily available to the body. It can actually chelate heavy metals out of the body. It can support the respiratory system. It can support the eyes as well. It can support the pancreas. So these are some of the things that it can do. And like I said, the fact that it can contain and sustain the high levels of SOD in the body and the glutathione. It's a go-go. You know, don't let anybody bunk you on garlic. I mean, I got a website on there. Go look it up. You know, if you eat too much garlic, you can overheat the head. This is true. Your brain will feel like it's overheated. But if you use little increments, even daily, you'll find it can go a long way in mitigating some of these effects that people go through that they may be otherwise to avoid. Alrighty, I always talk about activists. I always talk about those that I see working and doing something. You got Aaron Mack on his channel. You can check him out. He's got a health channel. He's also had an interview, and he also has a blog. So check out Aaron Mack's stuff and again, support him any way you can. You got Brian 396. He's also out there too. He's swinging the bat, knocking out home runs. Support him any way you can. He's got a Patreon account as well. I think I've got it up here. Yes, I do. So there's a Patreon account there for Brian. So if you want to go and help him out, by all means do so. And again, help out anybody you can. On my site, I got a Augment and Force site. It's a free site. There's all kinds of alternatives and health alternatives there. There's the recipe for YouTube that has when you click on that link, has the bucket and has the other information about the bucket. So again, these are places you can check out for free and get information from. Okay, but a lot of times people call me, I tell them go look at the video, go look at the site. You know, get the information from there. Sometimes you may not find it, and that's one thing, but most of the times it's there. So check it out. So anyway, help anybody you can, any way you feel. And again, I've always mentioned that if you can't help financially, then help other ways. You know, help other ways. There's more than one way to do stuff. So again, just help in any way you can by either passing the information out or sending funds. Alrighty, show's almost a full show. Not quite. There's a little bit of a shortage, but anyway, what was I saying? Okay, you're seeing today how crystals can be grown, can form networks, can attach themselves to you. Again, these are not something that I find enjoyable, nor should you. And we're looking at terahertz frequencies and an activator that can penetrate all kinds of things. Look at the links, share the links, have everybody take a look at them, read them, see what's being said, see if you can find something that correlates or find something that's antagonistic to that. And we can go from there. Always remember there's 2 sides to every corner. My side, your side, and the right side. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So let's keep it on the right side. Alrighty. Until the next segment. To your health, eh? See you in a bit.